Hello. So the video from class that I found the most, I think, impactful, I would have to say would be Rebecca's story. It really kind of displayed what addiction is and what happens to the body when you're not getting that substance. And it talked about her backstory, how she started at age 14. She developed this dependence on opioids after an ankle injury, and she was prescribed opioids by a doctor. And then, after that, she moved on to heroin. And so it was kind of like the doctor's prescription was kind of a gateway drug to her needing more and more and more. And I think it was just really impactful how she did that movement where she basically broadcast her journey through, detoxing, for everyone to see. And she was like, if it helps one person, then I've done, my job, then I've done, what I want to do. And so it showed her sweats and her swollen hands and her being tired and the nausea. And I think it was just really eye-opening to see this does affect a lot of people, and it's not a pretty thing to get rid of it, to move away from opioid addiction. It's not something you can just choose to do one day. It's going to affect you. It's going to take a long time for you to feel that freedom, and the detox is so horrible that I feel like most people are almost afraid to detox because of how horrible it is. So when we start talking about injection sites, I think it's a very touchy subject. Personally, looking at it from a pure public health standpoint, I do think that it would cut down on, people overdosing and dying from, using opioids. It's when you start to think about it as if there was one down the street from me, a safe injection site, I don't think I would like that. So I think it's about positioning, and it's about telling the people you're not going there to buy drugs. It's not a place where people can go and buy drugs. Because when I tried to explain it to my mom a little bit, she was like, so they're going to legalize heroin. And I was like, no, Mom, they're not going to legalize heroin. They're just providing a safe place where they can go and get needles, and there's doctors and people there that can help them if they overdose. And that, there's also counseling there. So if they need to, see someone, or they are thinking about quitting, or they see someone overdose and they're like, I don't want to do that, I'm going to quit, there's people there to help them. And she's like, well, that just sounds like a waste of tax dollar money and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, Mom, it's actually been proven to save money, ambulance trips and trips to the hospital and stuff. So after kind of discussing it with her even a little bit too, she was more like, okay, I do see the merit in it. I think when it just comes down to it, it's explaining it to people and explaining you're not legalizing heroin, you're not legalizing opioids, that are illegal. You're just helping the people. You're taking them one step closer to possibly, deciding that they want to quit and they want to find help. And, there's going to be less people dying because if someone overdoses, they only have a certain amount of time to get them the medicine to, save their life. And so it kind of changes that need for the ambulance to, be worrying about people overdosing when they can maybe be worrying on or focusing on other medical crises. So I personally do believe in it to reducing opioid overdose deaths. It has definitely been proven to do that. I think it just needs to be handled the right way, because at first people are going to think you're legalizing drugs, but that's not what it is. And so when it comes to the Hayden Hurst story, he started talking about his stigma around mental health. And I think to reduce the stigma, I think it's just talking about it. I've noticed a lot more since I've grown up that mental health is definitely more discussed. Mostly, I would say, in the younger generations, like my parents and grandparents, it's still something that you don't touch on, especially for men. But I've noticed for my generation, like me with my sister and my friends, we always are doing mental health checks, on each other. Like, hey, how are you doing? I hope you're doing okay. So I think it really comes down to just talking about it. Once you're able to have a conversation, you're able to provide help and see where people are. And I think just ending the stigma is about conversation. It's okay for people to be having bad days, especially I think COVID-19 has actually helped with, improving the stigma around mental health. But obviously it's not for, men, and for football players, he got a lot of backlash, which honestly surprised me. But I think that it's mostly just about having conversations that are meaningful and showing people that, there's people like you. There's millions and millions of people who suffer with mental health issues. So it's about just starting that conversation and then sharing your stories when not possible.